It's a very great privilege now for me to welcome Dr. Laura Haynes, who is a California licensed psychologist with over 40 years clinical experience of a very practical nature. She's an author, reviews peer-reviewed journals. She serves as chair of the Research and Legislative Policy for the National Task Force for Therapy Equality. She's a consultant for the American College of Pediatricians and a member of the Research Committee for the Alliance for Therapeutic Choice and Scientific Integrity, or formerly NARTH. She's a former regional president of the Christian Association for Psychological Studies and a current member of the American Psychological Association. Dr. Haynes has lobbied and testified before legislative committee hearings in several states in the USA on behalf of individuals who have unwanted sexual or gender variations. Please join with me and give a hand for Dr. Laura Haynes.
Everyone has the right to walk away from sexual practices and experiences that don't work for them and to have support to do it. Here are 4 common reasons why people want to resolve their unwanted same-sex attractions, as expressed by Dr. Joseph Nicolosi, Jr., leading integrative therapist. Reason for therapy number 1, some men and women adopted a gay identity and had gay experiences, but they ultimately found it unfulfilling for themselves. They, not the state, should decide their sexuality. A therapy ban promoted by politicians and gay activists and professional organizations demands they must stay gay, micromanaging their sexuality for them. The Royal College of Psychiatrists wants to forbid them treatment because the college says their dissatisfaction with their sexuality is not a disorder. The Royal College says the provision of any intervention purporting to treat something which is not a disorder is wholly unethical. Really? Marital dissatisfaction is not a mental disorder. Does the Royal College of Psychiatrists consider marriage counseling unethical? How about counseling for bereavement or employment dissatisfaction? In fact, 10 UK professional organizations, including the Royal College itself, admit they approve of treatment for these matters, which are not disorders. Dissatisfaction, not only disorder, is an ethical basis for counseling. People have the right to walk away from sexual experiences they found unfulfilling and have helped to do so. Reason for therapy number 2. Some individuals were sexually abused when they were young, resulting in conflict, confusion, and unwanted same-sex attractions they wish to resolve. They're not alone. In a statement in 2014, the American Psychological Association, the largest psychological association in the world, agreed that indeed people with unwanted sexual attractions may have developed these attractions as a result of childhood sexual abuse. A number of professional organizations in the UK and US take the position that same-sex orientation is normal and not a disorder. However, the American Psychological Association is now not consistent with that view. It says in the APA Handbook of Sexuality and Psychology that no gay gene has been found. Same-sex attraction is not simply biologically caused, like skin color. Psychological causes are always present, and childhood sexual abuse may lead to having same-sex partners. It based this conclusion on its review of research that included a 30-year study of documented cases of childhood sexual abuse. Here's a picture of my copy of the APA Handbook of Sexuality and Psychology. It's 2 volumes. In the series preference in the front of this handbook, the American Psychological Association gives its imprimatur to the handbook and declares it authoritative. There is no question the American Psychological Association considers this handbook authoritative. Here's the paragraph where the APA handbook praises the rigor of the 30-year study of documented cases of childhood sexual abuse. And the handbook says there are associative and potentially causal links between childhood sexual abuse and having same-sex partners. Of course, not everyone who is gay was sexually abused, and not everyone who is sexually abused becomes gay, and some people were sexually abused after they experienced same-sex feelings or behavior. But some people do feel their same-sex attractions and behavior were forced on them by childhood sexual abuse. Feelings and behaviors forced on victims of childhood sexual abuse are a clinical and ethical reason to treat. We have evidence-based treatments for sexual abuse and for attachment feelings that victims may feel towards perpetrators. A therapy ban mandates counselors to affirm or be neutral about a client's same-sex feelings and behaviors forced on the client by sexual abuse trauma. This is hurtful. Is it more compassionate to help victims change these attractions, feelings, or behaviors they don't want, or to just give them coping methods to go on living with them? Affirming feelings and behaviors of victims caused by trauma and neglecting treatment can lead to persisting psychological disorders, health disparities, other long-term consequences for the victims' lives, and increased risk for suicide. Elizabeth Wanning, co-founder of the Christian Equipped to Love Ministry in California, told senators she lived openly as a lesbian while in seminary and as a pastor advanced the gay-affirming church movement. But a perspective-altering encounter with Jesus, in addition to unaddressed sexual abuse as a child and young adult, pressed Wanning into therapy. None of the secular counseling I received removed the trauma of these experiences, she said. By affirming my sexuality as a lesbian, that counseling never delved under the surface of judgments and agreements that empowered the comfort I felt in the arms of another woman. My faith did. By blocking access to goods and services that question sexuality, Wanning told senators, women with #MeToo experiences such as mine may never find resolution. Victims of sexual feelings or behaviors caused by trauma should have the right to heal. Reason for therapy number 3. There are people whose ethics and beliefs tell them they were created heterosexual. Everyone's personal beliefs and decisions should be respected as their right. For example, many Jews, Christians, Buddhists, and Muslims believe they were created heterosexual. Respect for the tenets of these beliefs means these individuals have the freedom to pursue the life and goals they choose for themselves. The Royal College of Psychiatrists says, the college holds the view that lesbian, gay, and bisexual people have exactly similar rights and responsibilities as all other citizens. This includes freedom to practice religion. Some desire therapy or faith-based resources to help to love according to their faith and to practice their religion. In the UK, and the National LGBT Survey labeled Faith Organization Group as the #1 provider by far of so-called conversion therapy, and parent, guardian, or family member as the 3rd greatest provider because they practice their religious beliefs. Will politicians take away freedom to practice religion from organizations, families, and those who seek their help? Will they take children from parents or guardians? These acts are already being attempted or done in some places in the United States and Canada. In the US, Sam Brinton, a national spokesperson for therapy bans, told a meeting of Google employees that the true purpose of therapy bans is not to be narrowly tailored to go after licensed professional therapists. Rather, going after professional therapists is a proxy for going after every pastor. Samantha Ames, author of therapy ban bills in the US, can be heard off camera affirming that Brinton expressed that correctly. Here's the link, and by the way, all my slides are going to be made available at the IFTCC website. What we have seen in the US is that therapy bans are just the first step toward banning freedom of religious speech for pastors, churches, schools, other faith-based organizations, and in some cases, parents. When we saw that, it was a turning point for activism by leaders of traditional faith. See how pastors and Californians organized by going to ab2943.org, and what you see there, by the way, was almost entirely created since March of this year. Don't wait. Organize and act now. Therapy bans are a tax on religion. No one should take away anyone's freedom and right to live and love according to their faith and beliefs. Politicians should not go after pastors, churches, and families. Reason for therapy number 4. Some are in opposite-sex relationships with a spouse and children they love, and they want help not to stray in order to save their family and be full-time moms and dads. Under a therapy ban, there will be marriages and families that can't be saved. If a middle-aged 40-year-old mother of 3 says to a therapist, "I love my husband and children, but recently I have felt attracted to someone else. Please help me decrease my attraction to the other person." And if the other person is a man, a therapist can help her. But if the other person is a woman, a therapy ban requires the therapist to refuse. Could she even talk to her pastor or family member for help? Do these same-sex attracted people in relationships with the opposite sex represent a very common situation? The Royal College of Psychiatrists said, "Nevertheless, sexual orientation for most people seems to be set around a point that is largely heterosexual or homosexual." That appears to say most people with same-sex sexuality are set around same-sex relationships. But the American College Psychological Association says, and international research shows, most people who experience same-sex attraction also experience equal or greater opposite-sex attraction. The APA handbook says, hence, directly contrary to conventional wisdom, individuals with non-exclusive patterns of attraction are indisputably the norm, and those with exclusive same-sex attractions are the exception. This pattern has been found internationally. Rigorous research found the second largest identity group, mostly heterosexual, was larger than all the other non-homosexual identities combined. Over time, more bisexual and mostly heterosexual identified young adults of both sexes moved toward heterosexuality than toward homosexuality, so we know they can change. Many same-sex attracted people are in opposite-sex relationships because they prefer to be. A new peer-reviewed study found therapy safe and effective. Most of these middle-aged men who were in the study are married to women and are fathers. Note that even a shift of 1 or 2 steps along the scale from homosexual to mostly homosexual to bisexual to mostly heterosexual to heterosexual can help some live in an opposite-sex relationship or be celibate as they desire. In this study, 68% experienced some to much decrease in same-sex attraction and behavior and increase in opposite-sex attraction and behavior. The authors note this was comparable to the effectiveness rates of psychotherapy in general for what counseling people received for unwanted problems, and they were better off than 70% to 75% of the persons who did not receive counseling. 18% of the men in this study experienced heterosexual attraction for the first time, and 14% changed completely from exclusive same-sex attraction to exclusive opposite-sex attraction. They experienced marked improvements in self-esteem, social functioning, self-harm, depression and suicidality, and extreme improvement in substance abuse. Most of these middle-aged men who were in this project were fathers, and now they can live as they choose and go on being full-time dads. Gay affirmative therapy is permanently unacceptable to them on religious grounds. A therapy ban would have taken away their right to this safe and effective change-allowing therapy. Under a therapy ban, there will be marriages and families that can't be saved. Both sex-attracted spouses in opposite-sex relationships are common. People who are looking for change should have the same freedom and right as everyone else to leave sexual practices and experiences that are unfulfilling for them, to heal feelings and behaviors caused by trauma, to live in love according to their faith, and to save their marriage and family. No one should take these rights away from them. The UK Government Equalities Office said in its national LGBT survey, this government is committed to making the UK a country that works for everyone. The UK today is a diverse and tolerant society. Is the UK Government Equalities Office committed to and tolerant of the diversity of these people who want to change their sexual attractions? A law that takes away people's freedoms and rights to pursue the sexual orientation of their choice, love who they want, identify as they choose, and live consistently with their faith, harms and stigmatizes them. Here are some more examples of harms that will come from a therapy ban. Attraction to engage in some illegal sexual behaviors could not be treated. Illegal behaviors, such as sexual behavior with children, might be addressed, but the attraction to engage in those behaviors could be treated only if the behaviors are directed toward the opposite sex, not same sex. An example is therapists could help a man change his sexual attraction if he desires 5-year-old girls, but not 5-year-old boys. This is dangerous. A therapy ban might even forbid helping someone change same-sex behavior unless it is illegal. Even though professional organizations agree people can change same-sex behavior. If a law recognizes therapy can change illegal same-sex behavior and allows it, will it allow this change for everyone? Sexual politics micromanages people's sexual behavior. Therapists will be required to discriminate against clients based on sexual orientation. Many kinds of symptoms and recognized disorders From unwanted emotional and sexual ties that a sexual abuse victim may experience toward an abuser, to desire to have sex with minors, to compulsive sexual thoughts, to pornography addiction or sexual addiction, and more, could be treated only if directed toward the opposite, not same sex. Therapy bans empower social pressure and bullying against questioning individuals. Some gay men and lesbians come to experience opposite sex attraction through life experience, transformative spiritual experience, or counseling. But LGBT communities can exert strong, overt social pressure or bullying against change. Yet some change. A therapy ban is intense social pressure and bullying. Opponents of change-allowing therapy regularly show ignorance of what we do and grotesquely misrepresent it. Opponents frequently equate conversion therapy with reparative therapy, revealing their ignorance. Conversion therapy is an intentionally ill-defined term opponents use to mix everything together that they want. Therapists, pastors, grandma. It is so ill-defined that it is questionable whether therapists would clearly know what they are not supposed to do so they can comply. If a therapist does not try to change a client's sexual orientation, but it changes during therapy, could the therapist be in danger? The United States Patent and Trademark Office accurately defines what reparative therapy actually is. Mental health therapy services, namely voluntary psychotherapy for individuals seeking to explore underlying psychodynamic factors which have led to the development of unwanted same-sex attractions, in which treatment interventions are directed toward resolution of underlying gender-related traumas reported by the client using evidence-based treatment interventions. The APA handbook affirmed same-sex sexual orientation is caused by psychoanalytic factors and may be caused by sexual abuse trauma. The APA handbook affirms same-sex sexual orientation is caused by psychoanalytic factors. It says, biological explanations, however, do not entirely explain sexual orientation. Psychoanalytic contingencies are evidenced as main effects or in interaction with biological factors. A joint program of research by psychoanalysts and biologically oriented scientists may prove fruitful. Change-allowing therapy today uses evidence-based treatments for trauma and sexual addictions and well-established practices used in clinics around the world. Is supported by several U.S. professional organizations. Does not try to change sexual orientation or gender identity. Does not guarantee change. Changes are byproducts of client-directed therapy. These are professional organizations in the U.S. that support change-allowing therapy, and I'm giving you these links, which will be available with my slides on the IFTCC website. Professional organizations regularly misrepresent what change-allowing therapists do in their statements that are typically talking points by gay activist professionals who do not dialogue with clinicians or researchers of change-allowing therapy. They show ignorance of actual common reasons people want change, show ignorance of current methods, have no science that meets standards to back their allegations, and are often based on views outdated by current research. UK documents opposing change-allowing therapy frequently cite the American Psychological Association Task Force Report of 2009. I have been a member of the American Psychological Association for nearly 40 years. The APA Task Force Chair refused expert change-allowing clinicians and researchers who offered to serve on the task force. I am a first-hand witness to this. I personally wrote a letter to the chair of the task force asking her to include them in her task force, and I personally, along with other of my colleagues, received a letter from her refusing. Instead, she chose only LGBT professionals who were already committed to the conclusions based on political or philosophical grounds. Many take their biased report and further distort it. The American Psychological Association's task force, the Southern Poverty Law Center, and licensing boards agree. Change-allowing therapy today uses non-aversive methods. Testimonies of aversive methods have been documented to be fraudulent and reported to the U.S. Federal Trade Commission. The APA task force found no valid causal evidence of harm and did not declare change-allowing therapy unethical. I and my colleagues who do change-allowing therapy are members of the American Psychological Association. We have never been thrown out of our association. They have not considered the therapy and not declared it unethical. Actually, the APA task force said it had no scientific evidence that gay affirmative therapy is safe or effective. And recent reviews say LGBT affirmative therapy still has many limitations. Yet, the task force gave affirmative therapy a pass and recommended it. The British Psychological Society said there is limited empirical support for affirmative practice. The APA task force said its conclusion was tentative, based on anecdotal, not scientific evidence. Research reported benefits of change-allowing therapy that the task force knew but failed to report even as anecdotal evidence includes decreased depression, frequency and intensity of homosexual thoughts, increased self-acceptance, self-understanding and self-esteem, personal power, emotional stability, spirituality, satisfying relationships, relationships with church, God, and family, trust of the opposite sex, and interest in heterosexual dating. To scientifically prove that sexual orientation change efforts, sometimes has been referred to SOCI, is generally harmful, one would have to prove that all of the following are true. They would have to prove the number of clients who report harm from SOCI exceeds those who report benefits. Negative mental and physical health indicators among those who have undergone SOCI exceed those among persons who have undergone alternative gay affirmative therapy, had no therapy at all, had therapy or counseling for other conditions. There simply is no scientific evidence to prove each of these points. 600 studies over 125 years, including studies published in peer-reviewed journals of the American Psychological Association by APA members, have found when the therapy is done right, it is effective. APA presidents have provided successful change therapy and opposed bans. Here is a link to a research review from 2000 to the present. Here's a review through 2009. It covers 5 meta-research reviews. APA presidents have conducted sexual change-allowing therapy. Here are links for that. Under a therapy ban, clients get coerced, unethical therapy, or no therapy. People who want change-allowing therapy can instead have exactly what they do not want: gay affirmative or so-called neutral therapy that does not lift a finger to offer trauma treatments that are open to change. It is unethical for a therapist to engage in or coerce these therapies a client does not want. No research supports doing so. Therapists will refuse to do it. The Royal College of Psychiatrists says the college believes strongly in evidence-based treatment. Does the college have evidence that gay affirmative therapy or so-called neutral treatment to people who do not want it is safe or effective? No, it does not. The Royal College of Psychiatrists says the college holds the view that lesbian, gay, and bisexual people have exactly similar rights and responsibilities as all citizens. This includes right to protection from therapies that are potentially damaging. Coercing therapy a client does not want, or leaving a client with no therapy, is potentially damaging. It boxes them into hopelessness and potential suicidality. Therapy bans in the U.S. have left many with no therapy. Since 14 of the 50 United States censored change-allowing therapy for minors, most states rejected these bans, many LGB minors who want change get no professional mental health services in these states. Many therapists are afraid because of the law and legal advice to see them. In the UK, this fate may happen to adults also. Some people with same-sex sexual or gender incongruence are childhood victims of abuse or are suicidal. Cutting off access to professional services is unjust, cruel, and dangerous. Therapy bans are unjust and unconstitutional in the U.S. because one cannot censor speech just because it is uttered by a professional, and banning one kind of therapy and not the other kind is unequal application of the law. Banning one, it leads to a two-tiered mental health system. Those who want affirmative therapy can get it, and their therapist can get paid. Those who want professional change-allowing therapy can't get it. But if they are permitted to see an unlicensed person or someone who's not getting paid, they do not get to see a professional therapist, someone who is trained in evidence-based trauma treatments, and the provider may have to work for free. This is unjust. A therapy ban is an attempt to coerce appliance with a view of sexual orientation and gender identity by censoring speech because of a belief that doing so is necessary to support all LGBT people. But Dr. Caitlin Ryan, who researches LGBT youth and works with the National Center for Lesbian Rights in the United States, says evangelical families can positively influence health, and a theological shift is not necessary. Viewpoint discrimination using law to push a viewpoint is unconstitutional in U.S. law. You may not like someone's view, and a view that leads to true happiness for others may not work for you or your family member. But should they have their freedoms and livelihoods, potentially their property and children, taken away from them? The United Kingdom should acknowledge divergent paths and celebrate freedom. Testimonies of people who made real change and found true joy through professional therapy or faith-based services can be found at oncegay.com and voicesofchange.net. Thank you.